talk about the impact individuals, groups, structures, and processes have on behavior within organizations and society. We provide consultancy in organizational behavior, organizational structure, and entrepreneurship. In this video, we are going to deal with a general societal problem that exists widely in Africa. And we have a strong belief that if you have a challenge or a problem, you cannot solve it if you don't name it. So today we're going to name it. We're going to name the challenge that continuously exists in Africa, particularly in African bureaucracy, in African governments, how they interact with their citizenry and how they interact with foreigners, how they treat foreigners better than the citizenry, how they provide privileges and earned privileges to foreigners or their former colonizers, and give undue burden to their citizenry. And we are going to talk about this as not as something intended to harm their citizenry, but from somebody who is sick, somebody who has a disease that has to be handled, and they need to be encouraged to get help. As an organizational behavior expert, take it from me, I feel your pain. I feel your pain when you treat yourself worse than you treat you are a visitor. I feel your pain when you put yourself in a worse position to make sure that your visitor gets a better chance. I feel your pain, but that doesn't mean that your pain doesn't need to be taken care of. You cannot give unearned privileges to foreigners and put undue burdens on your citizenry and think that you are okay. You are not. But since this is a pervasive problem, we are going to look at it and see the origins so that we can be able to solve it once for all. When people are entering the United States, there's a line in immigration which says American citizens and foreigners. The line that is faster and quicker is American citizens. When you are entering an African country, there are two lines: citizens and foreigners. The line that is fast and quicker is the foreigners. You wonder why Africans would like to treat themselves worse than they would treat the guests. It reminds me of a time when we were living in a house and there were always china plates that were reserved for visitors. On every day we had to use the plastic. So the visitors would be given special treatment and us we would live on a plastic. It is something that Africans need to know that if they don't take care of themselves, nobody will take care of them. If entering the United States, the American citizens are given first preference, and then they go overseas, they are given first preference, when will the Africans be given first preference? So we will look at this kind of behavior from the point of three concepts. The Stockholm syndrome. The Stockholm syndrome is a coping mechanism for a captive, abused, enslaved person or colonized situation. Over time, people develop a positive feeling towards the enslavers, the colonizers, captors, and abusers. And they finesse a particular dislike for themselves they hate themselves for for being in a position to be abused. And then they hate the people like them who were in that same position. So the instead of directing the rage on the abuser, they direct the rage at themselves and people like them. They develop positive feelings towards the colonizer, the abusers, the captives. They sympathize with them. They think they understand why these people would abuse them, why they capture them, why they would colonize them. So they want to be them when they will never be them. And then there are very negative feelings about themselves, about the people like them. So you can understand why when an African with an African passport is entering an African country, that African will let the Chinese parolee prisoner pass with a salute and take this young content creator and put him in jail. Because how would he dare try to leave that situation? That leads us to the other concept of learned helplessness. This is the mental state in which a person is forced to bear abusive stimuli or pain or otherwise unpleasant stimuli. Over time, they become unable or unwilling to avoid subsequent encounters with those stimuli, even if they are escapable. Presumably because they have learned they cannot escape. Worst of all, they don't like anybody like them to escape that stimuli. The crab, they have learned helplessness, and they want the fellows to learn helplessness, to stay there, not go anywhere. This is their fate. Why would they leave? You can understand when an immigration officer sees a young content creator or a young professional African or lady, and in his mind he is thinking, why should she be better than me? We are the same. Our fate is to be nobody. And then comes the concept of conditioning. This concept of conditioning is a behavioral process where a response becomes more frequent or more predictable in a given environment as a result of reinforcement, with the reinforcement typically being a stimulus or a reward for desired response. So this is a situation whereby the people who learned English were rewarded with jobs, and those who didn't learn English were not rewarded. So it shows that if you know English, you're better. Or if you put on a tie, you're better. Or if you are servant to the master, you are better. And anybody who questions authority need to be dealt with. So even after the master has left, the prefect continues to enforce those rules for his kind. This is captured in Trevor Noah's book, where he says that his grandmother was always unwilling or found herself unable to punish him even if he deserved the punishment, because the explanation she gave him was, how would she punish the master? Remember, this is a small boy, but he's part white. And this lady has been conditioned over time to respect white people. She couldn't bring herself to punish her own grandson because she couldn't go over the hurdle of the long-term conditioning. That's why I named this Trevor Noah grandmother syndrome, a combination of Stockholm syndrome, learned helplessness, and conditioning that leads to a mental programming prevalent in Africa, where it shows itself in the interaction between the government officials and the citizenry, where the government officials give preference and earn privileges to foreigners, to their former colonizers, and while they give undue burdens of search and seizure, of detention, of suspicion of coming to do something wrong to their fellow citizens. These conditions have treatments, psychological treatments. If you are an African listening to this, and you know for sure, one day you have kept the Africans out there on the bench waiting in the office and you are pretending to shuffle some papers, but you saw some white guy standing outside and you stood to go and shake his hand, I'm talking to you. If you are a security guard in a hotel in Mombasa, in Mauritius, or wherever, and you saw some white women coming in and you let them in very fast, then you saw some black women coming in and you stopped them. The white women were the hookers and the black ones were the executives, because they had to go through a mental barrier to be able to make a decision to come to your hotel. The black women. Because they knew you were there, waiting, thinking they are the hookers. Because you know what? You don't like yourself. So you think anybody who is like you, cannot do any better than you. So you hold their hand. This video is for you. You are sick. You need to seek help. You are sick from the Stockholm syndrome. You are sick from the learned helplessness, and you have been conditioned over time to hate yourself and hate people who look like you, who you think are like you, and let people who are not like you pass because they must be better, they cannot be doing anything bad, but you are the better one. At least you are a security guard. Or you the immigration guy. You're sitting there, you see these Chinese people coming, you don't know they are parolee from prison, they were released from prison, told go in Africa if you can settle there, if you come back we'll take you back to jail. But you see the Chinese, you go rush, help them sponge their passport very fast. You see young Africans coming in, they are content creators, you stop them. They must be doing something wrong. How did they get the cameras? How did they get? Why are they having drones? There must be security risks. This video for you. You are sick and you need help. Seek help. It is not shameful to seek help. You have been conditioned to hate yourself, and your lack of confidence is the one that makes you think that anybody who looks like you must be doing something wrong, because you are doing something wrong. So, patients need compassion. The problem, we have a lot of patients in government offices in the whole of Africa. Sitting in offices, putting on suits and ties, but completely sick. They have no confidence in themselves, and therefore they have no confidence in anybody who looks like them. And we can't let this continue. They are sick, they need treatment. The treatment is talking to them and telling them, if you listened, if you saw this video and you felt uncomfortable because it shows something you do, we are compassionate enough. Seek help. But for God's sake, do not let your sickness hinder the progress in Africa or among Africans. There are some of us who know for sure that human beings are human beings. There will be some who are bad, there will be some who are good. There will be some who will be bad in some situations, there will be some who will be good in situations. There's nobody who is good, there's nobody who is intrinsically good or bad. The situations matter. So profiling fellow Africans just because you have no confidence in yourself and you think they shouldn't have confidence at all. Just because you have been conditioned to take abuse and you think other Africans should take abuse. Just because you have learned to be helpless and you don't understand why the other Africans cannot bear being helpless. This is for you. Your conditioning was total. But we can do something about it. We can change it. You can take a thought back and see why you find it almost necessary to bow when you see a foreigner. And that makes you feel that the foreigners are up here, and you now, because you have some badge, you are up here a little bit, and everybody who looks at you is below you. So you have to feel important and harass them. Harassing people is not strength. You are sick. Seek help. The Stockholm syndrome is real. We understand when you have positive feelings about your former masters. They abuse you too much. We understand when you wish you were them. Because you know what? They loaded over you. And now you think you can load over other people. Your negative feeling for your fellow Africans is understandable. You hated yourself for being in that position, and therefore hated other people who are in that position because you thought they should never have put themselves in that position. True, but it's curable. You are hating the wrong people. You are hating yourself for no reason. You didn't put yourself in that position. So you wouldn't do anything to fix it. But you can fix this. Okay, if somebody abuses you, you couldn't do anything about it. But if you abuse somebody else because somebody abused you, you can do something about it. Okay, the state of helplessness that came from that situation, and you learn to cope with it. Okay, fine. It was there, you learned it, cope, now it's done. Please try to escape it. If you need help to escape, seek help. So, to you, African immigration, African police, African presidents, African servers, who think that you have to treat foreigners better than you and your people, this video is for you. You can do better than that. If you can't, seek help. Thank you very much. This is Dr. David Frederick Amakobe of African Wood Incorporated. I talk about the impact individuals, groups, structures and processes have on behavior within organizations and within society. And today I was talking about the Trevor Noah grandmother symptom, which is a combination of the Stockholm syndrome, the learned helplessness, and conditioning that lead to mental programming prevalent in Africa that is apparent in the interaction between officials and their citizenry, where they give unearned privileges to foreigners and undue burdens to citizens. Thank you very much. I hope you learned something from this video. And if you did, subscribe, share, and talk about it. This is a really problem that needs to be tackled. And it needs to be tackled one official or one African at a time. If you feel that you have to give difference to a foreigner and you and your people should give difference, you are sick and you need help. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. We'll see you again in the next one.